Underwriting for the Money Doctor Show is provided by Regari Real Estate, Federal Street, Greenfield, a third-generation real estate agency serving the Pioneer Valley. Ryan and Casey Liquors, Main Street, Greenfield, exploring the world one glass at a time. West County Equipment Rental of Shelburne, daily, weekly, monthly rentals, 625-6463, or on the web at westcountyequipment.com. The Franklin County Community Development Corporation, growing sustainable businesses and communities since 1979. www.fccdc.org. Weld Communications, Marketing and Publicity, helping businesses spread the word in the Pioneer Valley and beyond. www.weldwords.com.
There's a better life if I could be debt-free, but all my money is a mystery. I was feeling overwhelmed and it was wearing thin when I knocked on the door and heard the doctor's in. Oh, the doctor's in, the doctor's in. She got the right prescription to help you win. Oh, the doctor's in, the money doctor's in.
Hello and welcome to the Money Doctor Show. I'm Dr. Frances Rayam, president of Power Down Debt, the positive debt management company. And I've asked a guest to come back today who did a show with us earlier named Tim Donahue from timothysauctions.com, because we had so much to talk about we really couldn't get it all in one show. So thank you for returning with me.
It's an honor, Dr. Frances. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. My head's going to get huge. It's an honor. So this was too much fun to let it go with just one show. And we really stuck a lot with real estate auctions because that's my background. I've dealt with real estate auctions. But I want you to talk a little bit more about all different kinds of auctions that you've done, maybe what the largest auction you've done is, and I want to hear some fun anecdotes. So the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Dr. Frances. You know, you're right. There's so many different types of auctions, and the reason there are so many different types of auctions is that people, the consumers, are looking to turn their assets into cash. And what does that mean? That means that we do estate auctions. You're selling your house, you have to sell all the contents.
Right.
We do estate auctions.
Yes.
Sometimes we'll even buy the estate before it goes to auction. Sometimes people want to just sell us the estate, and then we'll have a major estate sale.
It's so hard for families to just organize that stuff. Just having an auction team come in and tag everything and value everything and then sell it when you're dealing with grief and family members and all of that is a godsend, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then we do, there's all different types. People's hobbies become auctions. There's all kinds of
People's hobbies become auctions? You mean baseball cards and things like that?
Yeah,
oh,
baseball
yeah, sure.
cards. We've done antique doll auctions, okay? Something that people just decide, you know what, I've got all this, I've had it forever, it's been passed down, I want to it's just time to turn it into cash, okay, quite frankly. We've done antique dolls. We do heavy equipment. My background is in construction. I do a lot of heavy equipment auctions.
Yeah, I would think that would be a great transition for you to go from landscaping business to heavy equipment auctions. Yeah,
we do, and we do one every spring, and we have a heavy equipment auction where we do big equipment, and that turns in these types of auctions. Now, let me explain this to you too, Doctor. When we do an auction like that, or any types of auctions, sometimes in these situations, we do what we call consignment auctions.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll have one major auction site with one person that maybe is a major anchor auction with this equipment, but then we invite all different types. We'll advertise for all different types of people to bring in other equipment.
Right.
So it's not just one. So a lot of times these turn into, we might have 30 different people bringing in different equipment to do an auction.
Sure, so it becomes a really big draw to get buyers to come.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then we advertise it very, very, very aggressively.
And there are often, you know, people are afraid to go to auction and buy something that is sight unseen. But oftentimes there's an opportunity for inspection and questions to be asked, and we keep hammering this point home, but I can't let it go without doing it again. Do your due diligence. Check with the local authorities, find out if there are liens on things, because it's not the auctioneer's job to tell you. In fact, the auctioneer usually doesn't want responsibility for that. It's one of the things that you have to know when you're going to an auction as a buyer is caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. Thanks to my executive producer who reminded us of that during break, but that's absolutely the case. Doesn't mean you're getting a bad deal. It just means do your job as a buyer. Make sure you know what you're going to bid on.
And that's what we do. We advertise that. And we're very transparent. We have a reputation. We have a great reputation. We want to keep our reputation. So we try to work with both the seller and the buyer, and we if there's questions and they're hard questions, we ask them. You know, but again, we're not responsible for whatever was asked. But we want to bring everybody in so that at the end of the day, as an auction company, as an auctioneer, that we're representing the seller and the buyer, because the buyers, a lot of times buyers hire us because we do such a good job.
Right, right. That's interesting. Now, I should say, you're talking about all different kinds of auctions. An auction is an emotional place. You know, it's emotionally charged. People go with their hopes up in the air, and you know, they're armed with money and they're hoping for a deal. Have you ever had an argument break out in an auction, or give me some auction stories?
Sure. As we talked previous about real estate, generally in the real estate auctions, they're more seasoned people. Where the fun has been, not fun, but with some of the situations we've had, would be at estate auctions. It could be, you know, two people wanting a Hummel.
A Hummel.
It's small stuff, and it becomes a bidding war.
Right.
Becomes, you know, dirty looks. I mean, you know, there's never been a physical confrontation at any of my auctions. There's been some heated moments.
Not yet.
Yeah, exactly.
What will you do if there is?
You know, I would
Do you have a plan?
Yeah, I mean, if there was, I would just stop the auction, quite honestly, and I'd break it up.
Yeah.
And they're not going to mess with me.
Well, you could always go from aucsioning to betting on the winner, I guess. You know?
Exactly.
You could start a pool or something. Yeah. No, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I mean, very emotional. Auctions are very emotional.
Yes.
And so that's what you have to be. That's what you have to be. You know, it seems that the smallest stuff we do is more of a situation where we've had some heated tempers, but never anything too terrible.
Now, if you're just joining us, our guest today is Tim Donahue from timothysauction.com. And one thing that I was thinking when you were saying that is it is an emotional arena. That's what draws people to buy. The whole point of being emotionally drawn to an auction is what brings people with money in their pockets to bid, hoping to get the deal. That's why auctions work. If auctions didn't work, we wouldn't have auctioneers all these years later. So give me an idea of when you're selling different kinds of property at auction, are there some properties that are, you know, right from the start, this is a slam dunk, this is going to sell no problem at auction, while another property you might say, I don't know what we've got going on here. Can you give me some feel for that?
Sure. You know, it's funny. It's like in anything. You just never know. You think that what you just said, this is a slam dunk. We don't take anything for granted as an auction company. We do our homework. We educate the seller the best we can, and then we try to educate the buyers as well, because we bring the buyers in. Our tagline again is, we bring the world to you, either through the internet or in a live. And a lot of times we can do phone auctions where people can be bidding from all over the world if there's something that they want. Right. So we literally do bring the world to you.
I hate those phone auctions.
I know.
When I'm at an auction and I'm bidding on something and there's somebody on the phone bidding against me, I hate that because I can't see them and I don't know who they are. I can't read them, any of that. That is what I think is a problem, if I get to say that, that's inherent in online auctions. Now, I buy things on eBay just like anybody else does, but when you're bidding online on something, particularly on a large property or a large dollar item, it's hard because there's a trust factor. You don't know if you're really bidding against somebody or you're bidding against a shill who's just running the price up for the owner. You don't know. How do you address that?
Well, I'll tell you right now. We as far as this word shill goes, if we sniff a shill, that just doesn't happen.
We should explain what a shill is. A shill is somebody who's showing up at an auction to buy the property for somebody else because that other person is not allowed to buy it.
Well, there's other ways of putting it, but I mean,
tell me, give me some.
No, I mean, you know, there's been other people that have been sanctioned for different things where, and it's a negative thing, but it doesn't happen, or rarely happens, I guess, where an owner would have someone that was in the audience to bid it up, unbeknownst to the auctioneer. And that, that's totally illegal, and we don't allow it, and if it just doesn't happen. But there's been cases that have been case studies that have people that have done that.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, as a professional auctioneer with a great reputation, we don't have any of that. We just run a professional auction, straight up professional auction. So what we do to keep going on that is we've run internet auctions and we've run live auctions. And as far as the internet auction goes, they're just it's depending on what it is, but especially with real estate, the people just aren't really ready to do that. We've gotten bids, but they haven't hit the reserve.
It's such a large purchase to do on the internet, right?
It is. So what we've done is we've taken that, and then what we'll do is we'll run the internet bid. If we don't hit the reserve, we talk to the seller and say, listen, let's do a live auction. And in most cases they'll do it, and then in most cases the property will sell because they can touch it, they can feel it, and different things like that. When you do, smaller purchases, and even some big stuff that's sold online. If people know what they want. But again, the phone situation is sometimes what would happen, and this is all legal and proper, is that you'll have a company that's interested in a building or something. They can't be there.
Right.
They'll call us in advance. We'll acknowledge it. We'll say, listen, we have a bidder coming. Bidder so and so is going to be bidding on this property. On the phone. Right, you acknowledge that to the live bidders. Yeah, we let the bidders know. I mean, you're going to be bidding against someone. Yeah, I mean, and a lot of times we've never just by chance we've never had a successful bidder on the phone. Right. But they've had the money sent to us. Sure. They've had the money. They've fit all the criteria, but they just physically can't get there. Right. So I mean, that's totally fine. Talk to me a little bit about a sealed bid auction. We talked about absolute auctions in the last show, which is an absolute auction is it's absolutely going to sell. Even if nobody else bids against you, if you bid $10,000, you own the property or own the artwork or whatever it is. And reserve auctions, which is where there's a minimum price that has to be met in order for the auction to take place, in order for the auctioneer to drop the hammer. What about a sealed bid auction? Do people talk about that? Yes, a sealed bid auction is another type of auction. It's where potential bidders, they'll meet their criteria, they'll send in their criteria with the bid, and what the bids will be all open. It'll be a sealed bid. So we say we have 5 bids. They'll all be mailed in to us and open at a certain time. Right. Now, if the winning bidder reaches the certain criteria, which could be a reserve, they win the bid. It's just a silent way of doing it. Those are very popular as well. I didn't mean to do this, but one of us has just jogged a memory. My first experience with real estate auctions, and off camera, one of our producers was talking about, do people really buy houses for $300? True story, I bought a 17-room colonial in beautiful condition for $4,777.76 because I was naive and I didn't know what to bid and I was superstitious and I put 76 cents on the end. The post office had bought the property that was underneath this beautiful colonial. All they wanted to do was have the house raised. They put it out for bid. I saw it in the newspaper, I knew the house, I thought I'm gonna bid on it. Everyone else who bid on it, it was a sealed bid. You sent in your bid, you met the criteria, and everyone else who bid on it was bidding a price costing the post office money to tear it down. They were saying, we'll only charge you so much to tear it down. I was the only person who bid to buy the property. I had to move the house off of the property within 30 days. Long story short, it took 9.5 months, many extensions, court battle, the whole bit. But I bought that house for $4,777.76, and today my sister and her husband actually own it. That's a great story. But that's true, and I'd forgotten all about that was at auction, but that was a sealed bid auction. Yeah, and those are they're becoming quite regular. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. What's your favorite auction story? You know what? There's so many. Whenever I sell at auction, it's a favorite. Yeah. Because I've done my job. They're all interesting. They are. I mean, I've had some nice art stories where I've sold some nice art. I've sold some nice some sports memorabilia dear to my heart. Some of that has been dear to your heart. Like what? Well, I did. Sports memorabilia? I sold. I had a Pele, autographed Pele shirt. Yep. That I sold at auction, and it was authenticated. That was quite. And then here's another thing. Will you divulge what it sold for? No. 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 Okay. But what I want to share is that part of what we do as auctioneers is it's our business to make sure that our reputations is held up. So what we do is we work with people that can help us to authenticate different things. Could be signatures, could be, like you see on these TV shows, quite frankly, we bring in experts.
Right, like Antique Roadshow?
Oh, not so much that, it would be, auction
Well, I mean,
kings.
as an example,
yeah,
if they...
Yeah, so we'll find that we can find in our business, we have a network of resources that we make sure that what we sell, we're not going to sell something that we say is signed by Pele
if it's not. Right.
We can't do that because so we have to authenticate, and when we do that, we've done all different types of things, and we continue to do, and as our business grows, it becomes more exciting in that aspect. But I mean, people always talk about the hydroelectric plant that we've spoken of before. I mean, we do really, really niche type of situations that.
Yeah, I just want to recap that a little bit.
Sure.
Because this segment will not air with the other show probably.
Yeah.
But that hydroelectric plant was 9,000 square feet hydroelectric plant that they had tried to sell in the past.
That's correct.
You sold at auction very successfully. Yeah. That was a cool thing. So sometimes I wonder if the auctioneer here isn't having more fun than the people attending the auction even. It's a fun thing to do.
It's like anything. It's fun if it works.
Right.
It's a lot of work. To be a good auctioneer, it's like you just think if you become an auctioneer, it's just not like that. You have to really work hard.
Excluding that hydroelectric plant, because I know the story behind that, what is the most expensive property, doesn't have to be real estate, but piece of property that you've sold at auction?
There would probably be real estate wise, or I mean anything. I've sold heavy equipment for a lot of money. Okay. Heavy equipment, big excavators.
Like $500,000?
Yeah, stuff in that range. Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to say that just to make the point that this is not about going to an auction and buying tag sale items.
No.
It can be, but it is really, this economy is such that cash is king.
Absolutely.
And people will pay big dollars for things. I mean, that other people can't imagine you would do. So if you're looking to sell your property at auction and do what you started off saying, turn some assets into cash, into liquid cash, auction might be worth taking a look at as just a different way of marketing. And we did talk about this in the other show, but the marketing is what makes this work. You can hold an auction, and if you don't market it, nobody's coming. If you throw a little ad in the Springfield newspaper that says, by the way, we're going to auction this property, nobody's showing up. What you do that's different as an independent auctioneer is you market the heck out of these things. You're on the internet, you're out in print, you're on the radio, mailing lists, word of mouth. You're really marketing this. And that we don't know, that might sell a property even on the regular real estate realm versus auction, except that auction has a finite date. We know that something's going to happen to this on Friday the 13th or whatever day it is. So that's what I think moves people to buy at auction, that they can't just sit around and ask questions and drive by the house and say, maybe someday I'll buy that. Gee, that's been on the market. I got to remember to call that real estate agent. When you drive by a property and you see a 4-foot by 8-foot sign, or even a little 2-foot by 2-foot sign that says auction, that brings you to a sense of urgency.
You just hit on two of the biggest things. You put the auction sign up, it's immediate buzz.
Yeah.
Buzz is what gets things going.
Right.
And the sense of urgency.
Yes.
That on that date that it's going to sell, or it's going to sell. And those are the two crucial things, and that's what sets apart conventional sales with auction marketing.
Right.
And the key is that you just said too, the buzz, the urgency. We do a broad spectrum of advertising, but then we do target marketing. We find out the people that are interested in these certain items. Mm-hmm. We find them. That's our job. We've done this enough to know who we have to go after. Right. And then we invite them to the auction. And they've emailed us. We have people email us all the time.
It's interesting. I wanted to do this show about auctions because I think people don't know enough about what happens with them, and I think they don't take real estate auctions as seriously as they could. I think very few people take them seriously. I don't mean to say it's the only way to market a property. For sure it's not. But it is an interesting way to market it. And what I would say is you don't have a lot to lose by doing this. If you set up an auction with a qualified auctioneer to auction your property and it doesn't sell, you know what? I tell people all the time, you've learned something. You've brought every interested buyer in who had any inkling of buying your property most likely, and you've learned what they'll pay for it. Worst case scenario, you either redo the auction deal and decide to take less money. You know that it's just not going to sell for that. Or you take it off the market. What have you done? You've spent some marketing money maybe. you've spent some time, you've had an auctioneer come to the table and really try to get it sold, and chances are you've really raised the interest on your property. So I think there's no reason not to try that, honestly.
I agree. I could have said it better. I couldn't have said it better. It is, and again, just hitting on all those points. We charge a buyer's premium in most cases. The seller doesn't have to pay the commission. It's advantageous for the seller to do business with us. We make it easy. We're aggressive in our marketing. We bring people to the auction. That's what people pay us to do, and that's what we do. Because if we don't sell it, we don't make any money.
You got it.
And that's the bottom line. We're in that business of selling.
Thanks for being here with me today.
Thank you, Dr. Francis. It was such an honor to be here again, to see you, and to let my company, timothysauction.com.
I would have gotten it again. Timothy's, many Timothys, one auction, timothysauction.com.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
My pleasure.
Underwriting for the Money Doctor Show is provided by Regari Real Estate, Federal Street, Greenfield, a third-generation real estate agency serving the Pioneer Valley. Ryan and Casey Liquors, Main Street, Greenfield. Exploring the world, one glass at a time. West County Equipment Rental of Shelburne. Daily, weekly, monthly rentals. 625-6463 or on the web at westcountyequipment.com. The Franklin County Community Development Corporation, growing sustainable businesses and communities since 1979. www.fccdc.org. Weld Communications, Marketing and Publicity, helping businesses spread the word in the Pioneer Valley and beyond. www.weldwords.com.
So you want to retire, and you're falling short of the mark. What are you going to do about it? Well, it's a really common problem for people in small business especially, but no one is immune to this. Time ticks on, and you think that you've saved for retirement, and all of a sudden you wake up in your mid-40s, early 50s, panic-stricken. What are you going to do? You just don't have enough money to retire. You maybe don't have enough money to even pump into your business to do better at earning money, but you still need to retire. So, one thing you could do is this. You could focus on paying off your debt. Now, I can see the heads shaking out there. What do you mean paying off my debt? I can barely, make enough money to pay my bills every month. You don't need to make extra money to pay off your debt. You need a debt plan. Now, the reason I'm talking about debt in combination with retirement is because it's something that I discovered that was very valuable to me after 25 years in personal finance. It finally occurred to me when I was developing the Power Down debt system that although people come to me to talk to me about debt and getting them out of debt, the real value is how that changes their life in terms of retirement dollars. So let's suppose that you're paying out $3,000 a month in debt. Let's take a mortgage, a business loan, car payment, maybe a couple of credit cards. $3,000 a month in debt is $36,000 a year that you have to bring home just to pay those bills. That's not all your living expenses, just debt. Now let's suppose that you need to earn maybe $50,000, $60,000 in order to keep $36,000 in your pocket. Let's go with $50,000. So that means that if all we did was pay off your debt, it's worth $50,000 a year to you in earnings. That means one spouse in the marriage could earn $50,000 less and you could have the same style of living. It means if you kept earning the same amount of money, that's $50,000 that could go somewhere else. It means a different kind of lifestyle. So, if all you do is focus on paying off your debt, it's a very, very valuable tool towards retirement. If you're not carrying $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month in debt, and don't forget to add in your business debt, you need a lot less to retire on, and your retirement dollars go a lot further. So when you're busy talking to financial advisors and trying to earn more money and pump money into your business and trim your budget down in order to retire, don't forget to consider the debt. So if you'd like more information about this, you can reach me at my website at powerdowndebt.com. Thanks for watching.
There's a better life if I could be debt-free, but oh, my money is a mystery. I was feeling overwhelmed and it was wearing thin when I knocked on the door and heard the doctor's in. Oh, the doctor's in, the doctor's in. She got the right prescription to help you win. Oh, the doctor's in, the money doctor's in.